Viewers, you're watching the Explosive Exclusive with me and Navika Kumar, and our focus is going to be on a story that will literally shock you out of your wits. Why? Because, viewers, for the first time, the Congress party's Tukde mindset, quite literally, has come straight out into the open. Why? Because a Congress councillor, Zakir Hussain, has been caught out speaking to an acquaintance and calling, Navika, for the Chinese occupation of Ladakh and the breakup of the province.
Absolutely. Zakir Hussain, this councillor from the Congress party, who makes this call, talks to a friend on the other side, unidentified person, talks about how Ladakh ke tukde tukde kar raha hai Chinese, and that is good news according to him. He's actually celebrating that entire event, and he also says on the other side, he's asked the question, आप कारगिल का क्या करोगे? कारगिल और कश्मीर तो हम पाकिस्तान को देंगे. That is the kind of conversation that is happening at a time when India's martyrs have actually laid down their lives to save this country and their motherland. This is Zakir Hussain talking to his friend, and the part that you really need to listen to is they want to give up. And this I'm saying about the Congress as well, because this is the mindset that comes with the party. And they talk about Ladakh के टुकड़े टुकड़े हो जाएंगे, कश्मीर और कारगिल पाकिस्तान को चला जाएगा, और तब मोदी को दिल्ली में समझ आएगा कि कैसे संभालना है, क्या करना है. Modi will feel the pressure. Just for pressure on Modi politically is enough for the Congress councillor to pledge away his motherland to enemy countries like China and Pakistan. Shocking video that was put out first on Times Now. Listen it.
चाइना वालों ने सारा ब्लैक बेल्ट लेके लाके इनकी धज्जियां उड़ा के रख दिया. इन्होंने गोली चलाई ही नहीं. इनके चाइना के वो ब्लैक बेल्ट, वो कमांडोज वगैरह आ गया, धज्जियां उड़ा के चला गया.
अच्छा, ये गलवान कितना बड़ा एरिया है? ये गलवान एरिया
ये बहुत बड़ा एरिया है यार. 135 किलोमीटर ये अंदर आ चुका है. तो अब अंदाजा लगा क्या ये मारेगा? अगर
ये चाइनीज फौज 135 किलोमीटर अंदर आ गया हमारा एरिया में.
हाँ, अगर इनमें ताकत होता तो वो पहले मारने से पहले उनको 135 किलोमीटर आने नहीं देता. उन्होंने मार के 135 किलोमीटर इसलिए इनको भगाया है यार. तब ये चाइनीज और चाइना वाले 135 किलोमीटर अंदर पहुंचा है.
कसम से
हालत बुरा है.
अच्छा,
हाँ, वरना वो मोदी कितना चिल्लाता था सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक.
अब कितने फौजी मर गए वहाँ?
देखो निसार, ये एग्जैक्ट फिगर दे नहीं रहा है, लेकिन मरा बहुत है. बहुत ज्यादा मरा है. अभी तक ये 20 बोलते हैं, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कम से कम 200-250 लोग इनके मर चुके हैं.
अच्छा, उनका कोई मरा नहीं है वैसे? मत
उनका भी मैंने सुना है कुछ जख्मी हुआ है, मरा नहीं है. ओ यार, अगर पेंगोंग लेक ले लिया ना तो फिर हिंदुस्तान के पास बचता क्या है? फिर ले और करगिल करना क्या है हिंदुस्तान को?
ओ यार, तो एक काम कर, पैसा कुछ जमा रखा है, तू इधर आजा, मैं तेरे को मकान दिलाऊंगा.
कुछ होने वाला नहीं है, सब कुछ ठीक हो जाएगा. सिर्फ बस ये ले का आधा हिस्सा जो है चाइना लेना चाहिए बस. फिर पता क्या होगा? फिर दिल्ली में मोदी की माँ बहन लद्दाख यूटी के 1000 टुकड़े हो जाएंगे फिर.
Shocking video. And have you heard their political design, Rahul? Modi की दिल्ली में pressure, political pressure on Modi is the agenda for running down your country and saying that 20 का आंकड़ा आया है लेकिन 200-250 मरे होंगे.
Ladakh and Kashmir should fall into enemy hands so that Modi is taught a lesson. Look, the Congress party has at least prima facie acted against Zakir Hussain But Navika, I'll just want to take you through some other comments that have been made today by others. Now, this is a small fry who has been obviously acted upon, but there is Salman Soz, the son of a very, very senior Congress politician. And what has he said? He says, Galwan was servant of Prophet Muhammad. Hindu bigots abuse religion of the Prophet. Now bigots care about Rasul Galwan Valley. He is communalizing this entire Galwan issue. Can you believe it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And
he says that
Mr.
RSS types now suddenly are eulogizing people like Rasul Galwan because they've realized that he's tied very closely with the Galwan Valley and the tradition in the Galwan Valley. Otherwise, for them, he would have been a dispensable individual. So
why
this Hindu-Muslim here
Congress
also.
not admit that it sees everything through a communal angle?
Yes.
And they end up calling themselves secular and others falling for the communal agenda. But look at their own thought process.
And look at Hussain Dalwai. Hussain Dalwai, only our Jawans died, none from the Chinese side. Our Jawans had sticks to fight. If this RSS Shaka, send RSS men to LAC, let them guard our border. This frustration with everything saffron comes through. Now, these are pictures that are coming in from this all-party meeting that is being held by the Prime Minister. It began about an hour back, an hour and 5 minutes ago, Navika. And in this meeting, obviously, the Prime Minister wants to evolve a consensus, take the Congress on board, take the opposition on board. But with this sort of a mindset, do you expect? I mean, the Congress might make all the right noises, but behind closed doors, if this is the view that the party holds, then we're never going to present a united front to the Chinese.
Which is why when they question the government on why they are not consulted, the question is that every time there is a conversation that is held with opposition parties, there has to be a basic trust that information shared in that meeting will not be leaked, will not be divulged.
This tape has come out. Hundreds of such conversations go on behind closed doors in Congress party circles. I mean, this gentleman, Zakir Hussain, former Congress councillor, I don't even want to call him a gentleman, but nonetheless, is echoing something that is perhaps part of the Congress chatosphere. And let's listen to this tape again, viewers. Just pay close attention. There is gloating, there is loathing, and there is, of course, a separatist mindset that comes through very clearly. This is the same separatist mindset that allowed the Congress party to tolerate separatists even in the Kashmir Valley.
And they have a new lease of life. They have been encouraged and emboldened because every morning Mr. Rahul Gandhi gets up and asks questions at a time when the enemy is at our door. Instead of standing behind the country, behind the braves, behind the political leadership of the day,
He doubting them.
He puts and sows doubts into everybody's mind and actually wanting to send a message to the Jawans that you have been virtually sold out by the political leadership. Is that the position any responsible political party should be taking? Listen in to this ex-Congress councillor, but Mr. Rahul Gandhi has had no time to say that his party completely disallows such a thought process in their own party. Yes, they suspended Zakir Hussain, now they have expelled him, but Mr. Rahul Gandhi has no comment to make from one of his own. Listen in to this infamous Zakir Hussain of Kargil.
से चाइना वालों ने सारा ब्लैक बेल्ट लाके इनकी धज्जियां उड़ा के रख दिया. इन्होंने गोली चलाई नहीं, इनके चाइना के वो ब्लैक बेल्ट वो कमांडोज वगैरह आ गया, धज्जियां उड़ा के चला गया.
अच्छा, ये गलवान कितना बड़ा एरिया है? ये गलवान एरिया
ये बहुत बड़ा एरिया है यार. 135 किलोमीटर ये अंदर आ चुका है. तो अब अंदाजा लगा क्या ये मारेगा? अगर
ये चाइनीज फौज 135 किलोमीटर अंदर आ गया हमारा एरिया में.
हाँ, अगर इनमें ताकत होता तो वो पहले मारने से पहले उनको 135 किलोमीटर आने नहीं देता। उन्होंने मार के 135 किलोमीटर इस तरफ इनको भगाया है यार, तब ये चाइनीज और चाइना वाले 135 किलोमीटर अंदर पहुंचा है।
कसम से?
हालत बुरा है।
अच्छा,
हाँ, वरना वो मोदी कितना चिल्लाता था सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक।
अब कितने लोग, अब कितने फौजी मर गए वहाँ?
देखो निसार, ये एग्जैक्ट फिगर दे नहीं रहा है, लेकिन मरा बहुत है,
बहुत ज्यादा
मरा है। अभी तक ये 20 बोलते हैं, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कम से कम 200-250 लोग इनके मर चुके हैं।
अच्छा, उनका कोई मरा नहीं है वैसे? मत
उनका भी मैंने सुना है कुछ जख्मी हुआ है, मरा नहीं है। ओ यार, अगर पेंगोंग लेक ले लिया ना तो फिर हिंदुस्तान के पास बचता क्या है? फिर ले और करगिल करना क्या है हिंदुस्तान को?
ओ यार, तो एक काम कर, पैसा शैसा कुछ जमा रखा है, तू इधर आजा, मैं तेरे को मकान दिलाऊंगा।
कुछ होने वाला नहीं है, सब कुछ ठीक हो जाएगा। सिर्फ बस ये ले का आधा हिस्सा जो है चाइना लेना चाहिए बस। फिर पता है क्या होगा? फिर दिल्ली में मोदी की माँ बहन लद्दाख यूटी के 1000 टुकड़े हो जाएंगे फिर।
Well, viewers, you heard this tape. We don't want to comment on the inaccuracies in this tape because it's quite clear that that is not something that this individual we even need to dignify with trying to correct what he has said. I mean, none of it is true. It's not as if 200-300 Indian soldiers have been martyred. None of it is true. It's not even as if the Chinese have come in 135 kilometers. That's also a big lie. So a degree of fear-mongering is being done by Zakir Hussain. The party, at least in this particular case, has sacked this individual. There are others who I've talked to you about who are also spinning tall yarns and trying to communalize the situation. Let's see if the party acts against those. Of course, all of this comes on the back of revelations that it's the Congress really that signed pacts, intra-party, Navika, pacts with the Chinese Communist Party to make assurances. This is not just government to government. That is one set. Yes, okay, you disarmed your braves on the LAC, but you're also going around there tying up intra-party agreements.
Exactly. And that just shows why over the last so many weeks, so many years, there hasn't been one condemnation of China by name that has come out from the Congress party. Because is there some sort of an understanding? Well, our reporters and our colleagues are joining us from all across. We have Vivek Narayan joining us from Ladakh, also with us Sohail Saran from Srinagar, Pradeep Datta joining us from Jammu, and of course Nikunj Garg with us from Delhi. But let me come to you first, Vivek Narayan. Vivek Narayan, what is the impact of this entire incident in Ladakh in the manner in which Zakir Hussain, ex-Congress councillor, was virtually gloating and talking about how Ladakh ke tukde tukde ho jayenge and how China will actually virtually take over this entire area and the rest of Kashmir will go to Pakistan. How are people reacting in Ladakh on this statement?
Well, Navika, Rahul, the person who spoke there is not Zakir Naik there. He's a Mir Qasim for the people of Ladakh. They say he's a betrayer. He's not among us. Remember, the last words that he said in that audio transcript was Ladakh UT ke tukde tukde hazaro tukde kar denge. Well, that's something they just cannot comprehend. They are aware of the freedom that these people have got after the split from the Kashmir state, and they really are enduring it. They love their enjoying it, and they are thankful to Government of India for what has come to them because of that bifurcation. They are saying that whatever this man has said makes us hang our head in shame because he is from the same UT as us. But don't take his words for granted, but there's not even 1 in a million Ladakhi who would perhaps be echoing the same sentiment. But remember, China has had a aggressive diplomatic position, which included the use of what they call, quote unquote, silver bullet, giving monies and other helps to people, even social and cultural groupings which would stand with them. This has been happening for the past 2 decades. We need to find and see who among these people, who are the peoples within our own households, the ghar ka bhedi, the leeches within, these termites. We need to make sure they come out of their holes. We need to find out and dig them out right now. There has to be zero tolerance to this kind of a conversation which is happening. You cannot brush it under the carpet by saying this is an audio tape. I'm sure there'll be people out there on internet who will be asking how and who allowed people to intercept this audio tape. Did the government of India have the right to intercept that audio tape? This kind of conversation will be happening.
Well, Sohail, how are people reacting in Srinagar? Is Kashmir, after Article 370, as Zakir Hussain is pointing out, wanting to go across to Pakistan? Do Kashmiris really want that? Because in Pakistan, if they are a part of Pakistan, haven't they seen what is going on in POK? Or is this individual, ex-congressman, the only one who's sitting here wanting to put India on a sale table and put a price to it?
Well, Navika, the conversation has been absolutely criticized by the religious bodies, political bodies, not only in Kargil. This conversation has been actually criticized by the politicians as well as the civil society members in Kashmir as well. In fact, in Srinagar also, people were talking about this conversation, that this is not the time when, a Congress leader or anybody should come and criticize the Indian government. At this point in time, we are one. And that's what the statement of the Jamiatul Ulama, Shia Muslim body in Kargil, that has also said that at this point in time, whatever has happened, the Congress immediately should take action, though action has been taken by the president of the Union Territory of Ladakh. The Congress president, Rigzin Zora, has actually expelled this man after the conversation was, this audio tape was in the public domain, in which he has said he has actually given, he is giving the false information that Chinese personnel have intruded into the Indian territory for 135 kilometers. Also, 200 to 300 soldiers have been killed in action, but that's not true. On the basis of this conversation, a case was registered in Kargil, and thereby teams were formed because Zakir Hussain was missing from his residency in Kargil, and later he was nabbed, and he was also told to join the investigation. Though Zakir Hussain has also given a statement saying that the conversation was between him and his friend who is from Kashmir Valley, and it was a bait basically to know what thoughts he has for this build-up between the two countries, that is actually in Galwan Valley. But people in Kashmir as well as in Kargil and Leh district have criticized it, cutting across political lines, religious lines, because they are saying at this point in time, we all are one.
The BJP MP also, Mr. Namgyal, and ordinary Ladakhis viewers are stunned by this. They in fact want to fight for the country, and they can't believe that Zakir Hussain could have said something like this, and they have come out and said that this individual doesn't represent the mainstream Ladakhi sentiment. Remember that some of these great Ladakhis were the first to even catch out Pakistan in the heights of Kargil. Viewers, these are very patriotic people, and we've shown you visuals over the last few days of how hundreds of them have come out and held vigils, impromptu vigils outside the hospital. Listen into the Ladakhi sentiment on this.
कि लद्दाख जो है दो बॉर्डर के बीच में पीसता है, कभी करगिल वार बोल के हमारे लोगों को तकलीफ़ होते हैं, कभी चाइना के। जो 62 में हमारे लद्दाखियों ने जितना काम हिंदुस्तान के लिए की, और जब 99 में जो पाकिस्तान के साथ जब की, हमारे लोगों ने हिंदुस्तान के लिए कितने खिदमत किया, लोग वॉलंटियर लोग जाके इस पाकिस्तान को धकेल दिया पीछे। मैं खुद ही वहाँ जो करगिल में हनु वैली में खुद मैं मोटर बम लेके हिंदुस्तान की फ़ौजी के लिए मैंने अपना काम किया, क्योंकि हम हिंदुस्तानी है, हिंदुस्तान को करने के लिए हम चले गए थे।
अगर ज़रूरत पड़े तो हम चाइना के बॉर्डर पे भी जाके हम
इंडियन आर्मी के साथ दे सकते हैं। जो करगिल वार में जो हमने जो वहाँ पे वॉलंटियर ही जो हमने आर्मी के साथ दिया था, उसी तरह हम भी जो चाइना में जो अभी हो रहा है, हम तैयार है। अगर पब्लिक अगर हम वहाँ पे ले जाएंगे एज ए पोर्टर या आर्मी के लिए वहाँ पे कुछ सामान पहुँचाना है तो हम कंधे से कंधे मिला के हम जवान के साथ है। जो कल हादसा हुआ तो बहुत दुख की बात है।
कुछ लोग हैं जो कांग्रेस पार्टी से ताल्लुक रखते हैं और वो कांग्रेस पार्टी के ऑफिशियल स्पोक पर्सन है कारगिल डिस्ट्रिक्ट में, जिनका ऑडियो जो है सोशल मीडिया के जरिए वायरल होकर आया। इस देश को तोड़ने की बात कर रहे हैं, लेह डिस्ट्रिक्ट के आधा हिस्सा चाइना को देने की जो बात कर रहा है कांग्रेस पार्टी, कारगिल डिस्ट्रिक्ट को कश्मीर के साथ जोड़ के पाकिस्तान को देने की जो बात कर रहा है, आखिर ये क्या साजिश जो ये लोग राज रहा है। राहुल गांधी इसका जवाब दे, सोनिया गांधी इसका जवाब दे, कांग्रेस पार्टी इसका जवाब दे। और ये भी सवाल उठता है कांग्रेस पार्टी ने अभी तक उस बंदे को अपनी पार्टी से एक्सपेल क्यों नहीं किया।
Well, we have an all-important meeting that's currently on, but Nikunj, I want to ask you, with a mindset like this, where you're talking at a time when there is a conflagration that's going on with China, which is intense. We've lost 20 of our Jawans, we've lost a commanding officer, a congressman hailing from the region, a congressman who's the councillor of Kargil. He may have been thrown out just about an hour ago, but the fact of the matter is he talks in this manner. He talks about the fact 1000 टुकड़े हो जाएंगे लद्दाख के. Doesn't it represent a mindset, a deep mindset? You know, how did this kind of a person actually become a councillor, a member of the Congress party, and represent the views of a political party? Pradeep, take that question. We've lost the link with Nikunj, but Pradeep, take that question.
See, in fact, these people are no less than political vultures who are predating upon the supreme sacrifice of our brave hearts. You are absolutely right. In fact, this only reflects the mindset of the Congress party. That is one of the reasons all these years we have seen these people standing with the Tukre gang, because they had the people with a similar kind of mindset in their party. See, this man is not only trying to berate our brave hearts, he is trying to celebrate incursion of China. He is trying to insult Indian Prime Minister. He is talking about disintegration. And then there is a disinformation campaign from his side that they have come 135 kilometers inside Indian territory and 250 of the Indian soldiers have been killed. I think this is high time when Congress leadership need to act against such people. Not a single tweet from Rahul Gandhi's side, who with a drop of hat had been questioning government of India what really is happening. The problem is not with the enemy. India is capable of dealing with China and Pakistan on both the fronts. But problem is how to deal with this third front. Because this third front, the Tukre gang, is really problematic because they seem to be somewhere working on payroll of China. Because China believes in one kind of psychological warfare, media warfare, as well as military warfare. There is a blend of all these three things because they always try to influence the people who can further influence the society. And that is exactly this person is doing. But what is really, in fact, shocking is a kind of an atrocious justification from his side. He said that it was a very personal kind of a conversation. It was a kind of a bait. But somebody need to ask him, in personal conversation, do you talk about disintegration of the country? Do you talk about, in fact, dividing your country into 1,000 tukre, and then you feel like having this Kargil to be part of Pakistan occupied Kashmir? And also there was, in fact, a kind of a response from the Congress local leadership also. They said they tried to initially delink from this thing. It was only when on Times Now we went ahead with this story, then they had no other option finally to expel this man, because they realized that this is the only way they can go for the damage control exercise. But one thing is quite clear, that there is a problem with the Congress leadership. You look at all these three tweets. One was from the Salman Soos. He's a leader of a senior Congress leader, where he was trying to give a communal twist. And the same party keeps on talking about, in fact, they say that we are the most secular party. And is this not what they are trying to resort into fear-mongering? Then there was a Hussain, also he giving a statement where he was trying to question. They are again asking for saboot. What kind of a saboot they are asking for? They had been doing it in the past also, when there was a Balakot operation, when Indian Air Force was able to penetrate deep inside the Pakistani territory, and they were able to decimate Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters. That time also they asked for the saboot. I think they should look at the wounds of all those people, the wounds which the Chinese has inflicted on these men. I think Prime Minister has already said, marte mar hain. They will not trust their Prime Minister, they will not trust their army, they will not trust even American intelligence. Even Chinese had also said that how many people have been killed.
Stand by, even as they've taken a public position of this kind. Let's go across now for breaking news that's coming in from the all-party meeting. Let's go across to Megha Prasad and Madhav Das Gopalakrishnan. Crucial all-party meeting is currently underway. Megha's joining us. The Home Minister, Raksha Mantri, the Foreign Affairs Minister are all present at that meeting with the Prime Minister. Megha, can you just tell us what's the message likely to be, and are we actually expecting the entire opposition to come on the same page as the government post this meeting, given the divisions that exist between the opposition, the position Mr. Rahul Gandhi has taken, consecutively for 5-6 days through his tweets and statements, and this all-party meeting today?
Well, the outcome of the all-party meeting is going to be known only when it ends, but the endeavour of the government, the attempt of the government is to ensure that all the opposition parties, all the significant ones, because those who have owned five and more members in the parliament are the ones who've been invited to the meeting today, that all of them are actually on the same page. The government of India now is wanting to ensure that that different political parties do not speak in different tones and tenors, and that the language that India speaks is one. The image that we have is a united one for all the entire international space. We don't want to be seen as a country that is divided within, and that seems to be the reason why the Prime Minister himself took the initiative to ensure that an all-party meeting is called, that all the important parties are there in attendance today, and the Prime Minister himself presiding over it. Along with him, every top minister of the cabinet, including the Home Minister, the Defence Minister, and of course the External Affairs Minister. And what I was told is that the Defence Minister and the External Affairs Minister will be giving a fair understanding of how the situation right now exists in the Galwan Valley and exactly what happened on 15th of June. So the Prime Minister has ensured that not only him but the entire of the top leadership or all the important people in the government are there to not only explain the situation but also take questions, answer queries, clarify doubts, to ensure that when it comes to the information, the government of basically just to tell them that we are here. We are here to provide you information.
Madhav,
do not keep
Madhav,
questioning
the question arises in the backdrop of such vitriol that has come the government's way, the Prime Minister's way personally. Is this divide now too vast to bridge? Are we going to have some consensus coming out? Is the opposition going to come out and perhaps jointly address the press and say, look, we stand by any decision that the Prime Minister will take?
Well, Rahul, what would be very ironic is that even if after this meeting there is no consensus that evolves, because it was the opposition that in the first place had demanded that they be briefed by the government, that they be briefed by the Prime Minister of what has transpired when it comes to China. They had even assured, and certain political parties leaders had also assured, that they can be taken into confidence. Even after this meeting, even after clarifications come out, whether, this continued barbs against the government will ultimately help China, whether that question or that message is not communicated to opposition leaders. And remember, it's not all opposition leaders. If you read the letter of H.D. Devegowda, the former Prime Minister, he has not just made certain demands from the government, he has also cautioned opposition leaders about the kind of language that they should be using. It should be temperate language, is what he has very specifically said. And therefore, as you rightly put it, questions that Rahul Gandhi raises, whether it is about our soldiers being armed or unarmed, about whether the government has lied or so spoken the truth, and these repeated questions coming up and repeated questions being raised of the government, will this entire saga come to an end? Can all our political leaders, particularly those parties that have been in power here at the center, take a responsible position and send out a message to China that they are all one? Will that happen? That's what we really have to ultimately watch out for, Rahul.
So let's get in our guests at this point in time. Anirban Banerjee joining us. He's a political analyst. Ashutosh Mishra, senior journalist. We also have with us Lieutenant General Gurmeet Singh, former Deputy Chief of Army Staff, and Nalin Kohli of the BJP. And I want to ask you, Mr. Ashutosh Mishra. Mr. Ashutosh Mishra, it's a shocking statement that comes in from a congressman, if you heard that statement. Political opposition is good in a democracy and most required in a democracy to build in checks and balances. But at the same time, to have a mindset which only talks about splitting the country in an area where there is a conflagration with an enemy country at this time, especially at a time when we've lost 20 of our army men, you would treat the other side as an enemy country. You're talking about, अरे 20 तो उन्होंने बोला है लेकिन 200-250 मरे होंगे, and then you say वो तो अंदर आ गए हैं, 1000 टुकड़े हो जाएंगे लद्दाख के. Can you even your wildest dreams justify such a comment coming in from somebody who has a position as a councillor in Kargil and belongs to the Congress party or did belong to the Congress party till 1 hour ago?
I can't speak for the person concerned, but as far as India is concerned, all Indians are united in their opposition against China.
Is what Mr. Rahul Gandhi, saying all these days, and this councillor saying, gives you a picture of a united India?
So what we are seeing here is this continued attack on opposition parties. It exposes Mr. Modi's priorities, and that seems to be protect his
so you are saying the same thing. You are saying the same thing that Zakir Hussain is saying, which is कि लद्दाख भी चला जाए, कारगिल भी चला जाए, कश्मीर भी चला जाए पाकिस्तान के पास, लेकिन मोदी को मजा सिखाना है. आपके लिए मोदी को सबक सिखाना ज्यादा जरूरी है. आशुतोष मिश्रा जी, are you justifying that?
He said our army will work armed. And yesterday on your show, there was a gentleman who was trying to project all non-BJP government in a bad light by saying that the soldiers went unarmed because of the
government, not BJP government.
Can I ask you a counter question?
India is united here against China.
Mr. Mishra, can I ask you a counter question?
Health and course correct.
Can I ask you a counter question? What sort of mindset does this represent? Salman Soos, Congress leader, says Galwan was servant of Prophet Muhammad. In other words, he's a Muslim. Hindu bigots abuse the religion of the Prophet. In other words, that Hindu bigots abuse Islam. Now bigots care about Rasool Galwan Valley. Do you endorse this statement, Mr. Mishra?
The point here is that Congress party from
I'm asking you, do you endorse? Don't tell me what the point is. I'm only asking you to reply to a pointed question. Do you endorse this?
No Indian.
Do you endorse this?
No Indian.
Yes.
Will talk about splitting India or try to criminalize politics. But that's what has been happening here.
No, I'm asking you. One second. No, just 1 second, sir. Ashutosh ji, 1 second. Ashutosh ji, do you endorse this view? It's a very simple question. Do you think it's a right thing to be saying, communalizing something like this?
ज्ञान बाद में दीजिएगा. Pointed question है राहुल शिवशंकर का, और pointed question मैंने आपसे पूछा. आप pointed question का pointed जवाब दीजिए.
Pointed jawab is very clear. Why don't you listen? The mindset here is that there is a prime minister who says that he recognizes people by their attire. So anyone who tries to split India on the basis of communal politics it's reprehensible, and in Gandhi's India, it should be decried.
You know, this is whataboutery, classic whataboutery. I'm asking you a question. The context in this is very, very clear. And I want to ask you, do you as an Indian endorse this statement, Salman Soos statement? If you are trying to draw a false equivalence, that means you do endorse it. So you just tell me, yes, I do. Gol matol kyun kar rahe hain, sir?
You are now trying to create a false narrative here. This is a false narrative.
अच्छा, हमारी गलती है. False narrative हम create कर रहे हैं, और सलमान सोस जो कह रहे हैं, जाकिर हुसैन जो कह रहे हैं, राहुल गांधी जो कह रहे हैं, और सोनिया गांधी चाइनीज कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी के साथ अग्रीमेंट साइन कर रही है, वो सब सही है. False narrative हम चला रहे हैं. नलिन कोहली, false narrative हम चला रहे हैं.
Thank you, Navika ji and Rahul Shivshankar ji. I have 3 points to make, and they are all matters that concern me immensely and should concern every Indian. Ashutosh ji is wrong to say that Indians are united and we don't support the breaking down of India. Rahul Gandhi, as a leader, went to JNU to give support to those who said, Bharat tere tukde tukde karenge. Afzal hum sharminda hai, tere qatil zinda hai. Was it not? The Congress party has stood with these voices. It is that standing with those people on a token thing that emboldens people within the party, like this man Zakir Hussain, to actually call for the dismemberment of India, to harbor those thoughts. Then he doesn't refer to our army as an Indian, as hamare log. He says, unke logo ko mara. Is he an outsider? He's standing in India as an Indian citizen. This is that mindset of separatism that for votes which Salman Soz and others build on a narrative of Islam. I'm sorry to say, and how is your argument, Mr. Ashutosh, any different from the arguments of those who hijack Islam and say that terrorism happened because there was a reason, as you to say all this has happened because there is a reason? That's the same thing. These are unacceptable statements. They are anti-national, as simple as that. These are statements by people who cannot be Indian at heart. They may be Indian by passport, by Aadhaar card, by anything, but they are not Indians at heart. And anyone who indirectly stands with such people, I'm sorry to say, cannot be an Indian at heart.
Okay,
either.
General Shankar Prasad,
these are black and white
where do you come in on this? General Saab.
Or you don't.
Well, this is something that is, I haven't heard something more ridiculous than this. I think you all know very well, and the entire nation knows, that from the time India was getting independence in 1948 till today, Ladakhi people have got Mahavir Chakras. And as late as 99, Sonam Wanchu got a Mahavir Chakra for fighting for protection of Ladakh and Kargil area. You all must also know, Rahul, that there is a Ladakh Scouts regiment in the Indian Army with a regimental center located in Leh. And that is the most respected military unit, or shall I say infantry unit. And as you recall, I was Director General Infantry and I've been to these units many times. They are one of the finest soldiers. And Ladakhis are great people. They fought for India in 1948. They fought for India every time there has been a need. They fought for India in 71 war. They fought for India in 99 war. So the allegiance of the people in Ladakh is 100% with the government of India. It doesn't matter which political party it is. The question arises, Rahul, which is slightly more relevant to your debate today, which is rather more political, relating to the all-party meeting. I would like to take you back to 1971, when the Prime Minister had a meeting of the Cabinet Committee on Security in a room, and the Army Chief General Manekshaw was there.
That's right.
And there's some conversation took place, and after the meeting got over, the Prime Minister called the Chief. He said, why were you sulking, like something like that? And the Chief said, look, ma'am, please give me clear instructions what you want me to do. Do you want me to win the war or lose the war? If you want me to win the war, then I will tell you the correct time and the correct manner of doing it. We are a professional army. So today the situation is pretty much similar. It hasn't changed. We are a professional army, we have professional service chiefs, we have professional intelligence organizations, and actually you're 100 times superior to what perhaps you were in 1962, 65, 71 and 99. We have so much more sophisticated methods of finding out information about the enemy. We have so much sophisticated methods of transporting troops. We have infrastructure development. We have very fine battle-hardened infantry. You know, the infantry is fighting every day in the Kashmir Valley. So all of it is all. I mean, it is disgusting and rubbish to keep talking about politics at this point in time when the nation has got
but
a strong
Mr. Zakir Hussain, the Kargil councillor, former congressman
Navika,
actually seems to know more. He says China आ जाएगा, लद्दाख के हजारों टुकड़े हो जाएंगे और 20 नहीं कम से कम 200-250 लोग मरे हैं.
Rubbish. The Ladakhis fought with the Indian Army in Kargil in 99.
I want to, for 30 seconds, viewers, bring you face to face with those who have been doubting the valor of our forces. Now, this is one strain, but there has been a consistent thread, and we're going to move on to the next big explosive exclusive on this show. For the first time, the most authoritative voice from government is going to tell us what really happened in Galwan. He is going to speak about the gallantry of our braves in Galwan, the Galwan gallantry, Navika?
It's a minute-to-minute explanation, almost better than a first-hand account that you could have ever heard about what happened from 7 p.m. on the 15th of June to midnight and a little beyond on the 16th of June. The night, that was the night that costed this motherland 20 of her valiant sons. And all those doubting Thomases who continue to estimate how many more have gone, this is the interview they should hear. This is the first-hand account they should hear. Lieutenant General Narasimhan.
And also, very importantly, viewers, questions that were asked of our braves, of the government of Prime Minister Modi. Why did you send our men unarmed into battle? Why did you not, in fact, give them the commands to use weapons to fight? And most importantly, did we actually lose some of our men for a period of 48 to 36 hours to the Chinese? Listen to this. We are now speaking with General Narasimhan, member of the NSAB, at a time, General Saab, when the opposition led by Rahul Gandhi has raised questions that seem to suggest that the Indian army was somewhat disadvantaged by a timorous NDA. Now, you will be the first authoritative voice from government to tell us what happened really at the Galwan Valley during those crucial hours on which so many questions are being asked. So, General, first of all, describe the situation there, and why is it that the Indian armed forces, the personnel, did not resort to firing their weapons?
Okay, thanks for that question, Rahul. On the 6th of June, when the Lieutenant General level talks took place, there was a consensus that was arrived at for the disengagement process. And for that disengagement process, further talks were to be taking place on the places where the face-offs are, and from then the modalities were to be discussed. On 15th of June, when this process was on, one of our patrols and one of our columns which went to that area found a tent of the Chinese PLA on our side. They asked the Chinese PLA to leave, and then they took down the tent and then pitched our own. At that point in time, a little later than that, the Chinese turned back again with a larger strength. That is when that melee started. And by that time, I would like you all to understand that it was dark. It was in the evening. It was getting dark at that point in time. The altercation happened, and you found that when this stone throwing, using of batons, etc., was being resorted to, you found that the Chinese casualties also started coming up, and both the sides started suffering casualties. And it was a melee of, say, hundreds of people in a very small area. I would like you to imagine that in darkness, in a close kind of a fighting situation, and that is the kind of situation it was there. And there are reports which have come up, why were our troops sent without weapons, etc. The weapons were very much there, and nobody goes into such situations without the weapons with them. So weapons were there. And please also understand, there are protocols that we follow on the line of actual control, that we do not open fire. And to good measure, even the Chinese also did not open fire that day, in spite of suffering casualties. That is not a consolation. That is not a justification I am trying to give. The issue that comes up is that our side was as prepared as the other side. And as for why fire was not open, please understand, in such a close area, when hand-to-hand fighting is going on, if you were to use the firearms, then you see the number of casualties that would have mounted. What casualties you saw now, it would have been many times that.
And General Narasimhan, many questions have been asked, and you said that this was a small area, it was getting dark. Reports suggest that this happened sometime between 7 p.m. and midnight. And you're right, it was darkness at that time. The question many are asking is, and even Mr. Rahul Gandhi has raised this question, that in a situation where the commanding officer was seeing casualties on his side, do you at that time also keep protocols in mind and not use your weapons or fire in order to, protect your own boys who are with you? Do you once that protocol has already been broken by the Chinese who came back and put their tent, and then the melee happened, why were the Indian side still going on following the protocol and not saving lives, is a question many in the opposition have asked. Would you like to explain what really happened?
There are 2 points that we need to look at. One is the protocol was on not opening fire. That protocol was followed. But second point that we need to understand is, once the commanding officer became a casualty, he fought valiantly, he became a casualty. The second in command, or whosoever was in charge at that point in time, he would have actually taken a call seeing what was happening on ground. If he had seen that opening fire would be more detrimental than to fight in a close kind of a battle, he would have actually taken that call. And I think being on the ground, having taken that decision, I think that decision has to be respected. Because none of us were there on the ground at that point in time. It is that gentleman who was there. He took that decision. I think that is the right decision that he took.
And the question has also been raised that probably the political bosses in Delhi were sleeping, is the word Mr. Rahul Gandhi has used, and they did not know about the satellite images and the build-up that was happening on the Chinese side. How would you respond to that?
Firstly, this is an event which has taken place after the initial events took place in the first week of May. And to say that, people were not looking into it, I'm not talking about Mr. Rahul Gandhi, that whatever he said is he said. I am talking about the situation on ground, and I am talking about how the situation evolved from the first week of May. First week of May, we know that the incidents took place in Pankung So, the incident took place in Nakula, and thereafter the incident took place in Galwan Valley. Thereafter, the situation has remained tense in those areas. Talks have been going on. Higher level military commanders have been talking. 6th June, the Lieutenant General level talks took place. I mean, all these things have been happening over a period of a month plus. Okay. I'm sure everybody, military, the diplomatic level, the government level, everybody was watching this.
So General, let me ask you, because I'm now going to quote General H.S. Panak. And he said that protocols were only for border management. This is a kinetic situation where you have a complete conflagration, where casualties are being racked up, and therefore all rules of engagement go out of the window. He seems to imply that maybe more heavier weaponry could have also been used. How do you respond to that?
Two things in this. In fact, part of it I had answered earlier. You were actually seeing a situation where hundreds of people were in a hand-to-hand fight in a smaller area. Suppose if you had opened fire at that time, and I respect the decision of the officer who was in charge on that spot, he would have been the best judge to take that call. Second thing is, if you had to fire artillery in a small area where our troops as well as their troops are mixed up, tell me how will it have an effect? Even we would have suffered a lot of casualties in that bargain. And the next aspect that we need to keep in mind is it is not only, it is the LAC which has been peaceful, despite the fact that it is not clear on ground. On the other hand, look at the LOC. Even when the LOC is marked clearly on the map, still you find firing going on every day. You react in this manner, you would have converted this LAC into the LOC, and for perpetuity, you will have this problem coming up on our hands. So these things need to be looked into in a much more detail. And second point is, if you look at that area where this incident was taking place, it was a mountainous area. It was on the higher reaches of the mountainous area. The effectiveness of the artillery in mountainous areas is approximately 10%. Even that wouldn't have given that kind of effect that one is expecting to. For satisfaction purposes, one can keep saying anything. But I think a lot of factors need to be taken into account before we take a call on anything to open fire across the line of actual control.
Well, General Narasimhan, I'd like to ask you one question, which is, has the National Security Advisory Board been taken into confidence at any stage in the last 1 month when we've seen tense position along the LAC in this sector? Number one. And number two, what was man for man, the presence of Indian troops versus the Chinese troops on 15th of June when this incident took place?
First question first. In the National Security Advisory Board, I look after China, and I have been involved in this right from day one. So that point should be answering your question. The second point on the man-to-man issue, when the Chinese came back, we were outnumbered, not to a major extent, but yes, we were outnumbered. But still, the kind of fight that the boys put up there actually would have sent a solid message to the Chinese on that day.
My last question to you, General Saab, we've been hearing that our commanding officer put up a very, very brave front. In fact, he knocked out quite a few people. It was the Chinese commanding officer who fell first, and the Chinese have suffered a number of casualties. Can you put a number on those casualties? We believe some officers have also been taken casualty on the Chinese side.
Firstly, I've been saying on many channels again, it'll be extremely to put a specific number to the casualties that the Chinese suffered, basically because, I'll come to the question of the commanding officer later, basically because after evacuation had taken place, the Chinese helicopters were seen landing and picking up the casualties. It will be extremely difficult to say how many of them passed away after they reached the hospital and other things. That kind of figures will only be available with the Chinese side. However, we are given to understand that the Chinese commanding officer also lost his life in the battle, and along with him, some more officers also were casualties, and those casualties occurred right at the initial stages, even before our commanding officer laid down his life.
Mr. Narasimhan, it's always very tempting to ask you questions, because you're the only real insider who's spoken so far. There are reports and there has been speculation over the Ministry of External Affairs as well as the Army coming out with a statement that there are no missing men on the ground. But that statement probably came, and the speculation says, because 10 of our people happened to land on the other side when this scuffle happened and the landslide caused people to fall off. Can you confirm or deny whether there were missing people till yesterday 3 p.m. or it was just the 20 casualties that were reported earlier?
See, it is like this. I was explaining this incident the way it happened on the 15th of June in the darkness. How many people were actually milling around in a very small area. We should understand as to how these things happen and what is the after effect of this. After this incident would have happened, at night it would have been extremely difficult to have a head count and then a head count of men, weapon, ammunition, etc., etc. What would have happened is, in the morning, that process would have started. In the morning, what had happened was, first thing was to evacuate the casualties that were existing at that point in time. So first effort would have gone into taking the casualties back so that they can be given the treatment and revived, whosoever could be revived. Thereafter, the head count and other things would have started taking place. In such a melee, what happens is people could go left and right, and for them to get back into the unit, to have a head count, etc., would have taken some time. That is one aspect that could have actually been happening, so that these 10 people came in later. The other thing that could have happened is, in the melee, when pushing and pulling is taking place, when the fighting is taking place, it could very well happen that these people would have probably ended up on the other end and would have been retained in case that happened. So, in all probability, it is in the process of all these things, if something like that could have happened, it would have happened. But the very fact is, today, the Chinese Foreign Ministry also has given a statement saying that they have not retained or they have not arrested any of our soldiers. And yesterday, after the statements came out, the figure was given, and then all men are accounted for in the statements that have been given out. So even if In the melee, if some people have been missing, now all of them have come back and accounted for, and that's what matters.
So General Saab, there's no point you're saying that any of our men, the 10 men, were detained by the Chinese?
They could have been held by the Chinese, but I won't say they were detained. In the sense that in the melee, if they had gone on to the other side, they could have been with them for some time. There are procedures in place in such cases to discuss and get these people back, and that could have happened in case they were on the other side.
Well, that happened with Colonel Abhinandan as well on the Pakistan side, and we know what happened on that side. Do you have any information on whether we were in any situation close to that?
No, I don't think so. And comparing Pakistan and China will be comparing like apples and oranges. So they deal differently, and I don't think any of them were harmed.
Well, I think that does put all speculations to rest. General Narasimhan, thank you very much for joining Rahul and me on the Explosive Exclusive, because what you've said is probably the most detailed account of what transpired between the dusk and the midnight of June 15th and 16th. Thank you very much, General Narasimhan, for joining.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you.